Hello, this is Brent Height, and welcome back to Brent Height Outdoors. I recently spent 15 days exploring the countries of Israel and Jordan. I saw many interesting things while I was there. This will be the first part of a series of videos that I'm going to share with you to show you some of the things that I experienced in these two countries. So this is where we're staying. We're right on the Mediterranean Sea. We got palm trees. This is our hotel. And we've got a big pool, which we don't have time to swim in, but we will be here for 1 day, and then we're moving somewhere else tomorrow. So we just had dinner, and we decided to take a little stroll. We're on the Mediterranean Sea. So I'm walking along the seawall. The Mediterranean Sea is on the other side of this wall here. There's a boatyard out here, lots of sailboats parked, and our hotel over there in the distance. And we're on a berm, a seawall that's lighted. Has white lights on the interior and the exterior. I don't know if you can see them, they're blue lights. And we just had dinner at the hotel, and now we're out walking it off. Okay, so we have reached the end, and there's a light that blinks up here periodically.
Hey, UFO coming in.
Yep, UFO right there. And our hotel is back over that way.
No.
So the next morning, we got on our bus and we headed toward our first destination. We were actually surprised to see that they have McDonald's in Israel. So I'm on the Mediterranean Sea, and I'm at Caesarea in Israel,
And this is the place that King Herod built. Take a look.
So the first place we visited was Caesarea Maritima. It was a port city that was built by Herod the Great in 22 BC. And he built this and named this place in honor of Augustus Caesar. This city is located about 30 miles north of Tel Aviv. So this was an important port city in the first century, and many events in the book of Acts in the Bible took place here. The Apostle Philip, after doing his evangelism, eventually settled down here, and many believers were expelled from Jerusalem, and this was a place that they retreated to after being expelled. The Apostle Paul traveled through Caesarea several times. Early in his ministry, when his life was threatened in Jerusalem, the believers helped him escape through Caesarea to Tarsus. Two more significant biblical events took place in Caesarea Maritima. First, Caesarea was the home of Cornelius the centurion. Peter visited Cornelius in his home, and Cornelius and his household were converted. And secondly, this is also the location of King Herod Agrippa's death at the hand of the angel of God that's written about in Acts 12:23. And this is the ruins of the actual port that stood here in the first century. And this is a place where we stopped and everybody took a fun picture, like this one. Then it was time to get back on the bus and move on to our next location. So we all got back on the bus, and just before we left, just down the road a few hundred yards, there were the remains of some old Roman aqueducts, and we got to see those before we left the location.
Okay, you see those are protesters. It's people who protest against the reform that Netanyahu and the government is trying to do. There is, as I told you, a lot of demonstration right now. This week is going to be busy with people demonstrating. We hope we're not going to lose time because of that, because sometimes they block roads.
We're at Mount Carmel, and we're at the place where Elijah faced the prophets of Baal. I'm ready to take a look at that place and see what kind of view we have from up here.
Far away, you can see a round mountain. Do you see a round mountain over there?
Yeah.
That's Mount Tabor, the mountain of transfiguration. Transfiguration took place on Mount Tabor. And this is the Jezreel Valley, which is the valley of the basket fruit, of the country for centuries. Okay, that was always a place that they did agriculture. The Kishon River is just below us. Just below us, you can see the highway, and parallel to the highway, you see a line. You see water actually. This is the Kishon. You see it? It goes like that. Can you see it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You see it, right?
Yeah,
Good. So this is the Kishon.
So I'm standing on Mount Carmel, and this is the place where Elijah faced the prophets of Baal, and he slaughtered them, and he chased them all the way down to the bottom of this valley. See if I can show it to you. All the way down to the bottom of this valley. There's a river down there by the highway. He chased them and slaughtered them all the way down there. So in the book of 1 Kings chapter 18 verses 20 through 40, there's a story about how Elijah faced the prophets of the god Baal, B-A-A-L. So in this story, there's a contest between Elijah and 450 prophets of the god Baal. So they have a contest to prove who is the true God of Israel. So they build an altar, and each puts their sacrifice upon their altar, and both of them are supposed to call upon their gods to call fire down from heaven to consume the offerings on the altar. So the prophets of Baal call and call, but they can't get their God to do anything for them. So to prove things even more, Elijah has his people to dig a trench around his altar and fill it with water and cover the whole sacrifice with water. So Elijah's God sends fire down from heaven, burns up the sacrifice, burns up the wood, burns up the stone, and dries up all the water, proving that Elijah's God is the true God of Israel. He then proves to the people that the prophets of Baal are false, and they worship a false god, and therefore he commands them to be executed, and they chase them all the way down into the valley where the brook of Kishon is, and they slaughter them. So the place where we stood here on top of Mount Carmel is where this contest took place. So this is a village in Nazareth where they have recreated things in order to show what things would have looked like during the time of Jesus. The present-day modern city of Nazareth can be seen in the background. And this is an olive press, and this is how you use it. And this is a reconstructed site of what was once an old temple, and it could have possibly been the temple that Jesus studied in at one time. So we're in Nazareth, Nazareth Village, where Jesus lived. So this is an olive tree. This is some wheat. And this is an almond tree. This appears to be a more simple olive press.
Tiberias.
So we arrive at our new hotel in Tiberias. We'll stay here for about 3 days, and it's a very nice place. And they also had great food here. And a nice selection of it. But as nice as things were, we still had some concerns.
So a lot of you have asked me about what's going on in Israel, and there is some protesting going on. We haven't seen a lot of it, but in the bigger cities, in Tel Aviv and in Jerusalem, there's several people have taken to the streets and they've started fires and they're protesting. So the airport is shut down at this time. But this morning I'm in Tiberias, Israel, and I'm on the Sea of Galilee. This is what it looks like, and we'll get ready to watch the sunrise.
The next part of the trip had us climbing aboard a safari truck and taking a little ride.
Say hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. There you go.
It's gonna be a long day, boys and girls.
We are going to Gilgal Refaim in the safari trucks.
You see, we are less than 100 meters from Gilgal Refaim. Can you see in front of us? This is the place.
So we've arrived at Gilgal Refaim. This is a place I've been wanting to see for a long time, and we came in these safari trucks and we rode about 30 minutes. We rode a bus to a place to get on these safari trucks. It took us about an hour to get to the place where the safari trucks were, and then 30 minutes to get out here to where this site is. And we're going to be using a drone so you can see it from the air.
But first we had to get to the actual site, and that wasn't an easy chore. So these rocks were very unstable and they were slick. We didn't want to get our feet wet. It was cold that morning actually, and so we helped everybody across, and then we walked a few more yards till we got to the actual site. This was one of the highlights of the trip for me. This is a place that no one really knows how old it is, but some people say it could date back to the conquest of Canaan, which happened at about 1406 BC. The Israelites were ending their wilderness journey and getting ready to enter into the Promised Land, and one of the people that they encounter before they cross over the Jordan was King Og of Bashan, and this place is in the area of Bashan, and we have reason to believe that somehow or another this place is connected to King Og. In the Bible, in the book of Numbers, in chapter 21, we're told that King Og was an Amorite king. We're also told that he came out to confront the Israelites in battle at the city of Edrei, and this site is near the city of Edrei. So since we are close to the location referenced in the Bible, we have to assume that there's a high probability that this site could be associated with King Og of Bashan. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 3 tells us that Og was a very large man. It tells us the size of his bed. His bed was 13.5 feet long and 6 feet wide and made of iron. So King Og was a giant, and the Bible tells us that he was the last of the Rephaites, or the Rephaim, And the Bible also tells us that this place is the Valley of the Rephaim, or the Valley of Giants. So we're dealing with giant people here that the Israelites had war against.
Alright, I'm Brent Height with Brent Height Outdoors, and I'm with Lee Brainerd, a friend that I've met recently, and I'm with the Prophecy Watchers group, and we flew 7,000 miles, and one of the highlights for me was to see this place that we're at right now. This is Gilgal Refaim. This is in the center of what is possibly the tomb of King Og of Bashan. We're in the Golan Heights, we're in Israel, and I've been wanting to see this place for a long time. What did we do? We flew on planes, we rode a bus, we got on a safari truck, and then we hiked to get to this place. And we'll show you what it looks like from the air. We have a drone outside right now that's flying, and we'll show you some aerial footage momentarily. And we've got Emily Gonzalez that's running the camera. She's Mondo Gonzalez's daughter. He's here with us also. And this is something that is been on my bucket list for a long time, and I'm glad to check it off.
So if you'll look close, you'll see people walking on the road below, and you can get an idea of how big this thing actually is. There are a few ancient sites in the world that are actually designed like this. One of which would be Atlantis, which the philosopher Plato wrote about 2,000 years ago. So was Atlantis a mythical city, or was it actually a real place? And what about the other ancient sites of the world that share the same design? Is this somehow paying some kind of tribute to the gods, or to the giants of long ago? Just to the north of the stone circle is another mound complex that's serpentine in nature. Its snake-like body winds back and forth through the rocky hills. The head of the snake has some kind of fortress built on top of it, and there's 3 different fort-like places built on the tail of the snake. Along the body of the snake you see these round circles. Some people say these are dolmens, and there is 100 such circles that are in the area. Throughout history, dolmens have said to be burial markers for giants. Could this possibly be the place where giants were buried that were killed by the Israelites in the Battle of Edrei? Or do these circles mean something else? There's really no telling what all kind of history has taken place at this site. I would like to go back to this place and spend a week just at this site. If I do go back to this site, I would like to take a metal detector and spend some time using it to see what kind of metal artifacts would turn up. Also, I'd like to take a tri-field meter to see if I could measure any electromagnetic current anomalies emitting from this site. You can see as the camera pans to the right how close this structure is to the stone circle structure. You can also see how much larger it is compared to the stone circle. Just think of the effort that it took to build such structures as these. So many stones. How many people would it take to build these, and how long did it take to build it? What was their motivation? Why did they work so hard in order to build this structure? If only these stones could talk. Just imagine what stories these stones could tell us about what happened in the ancient past. In the following 2 pictures, I'm sending a text to L.A. Marzulli, but can anybody tell me what Daniel is doing? So this concludes episode 1 of my Israel and Jordan adventure. If you enjoyed this, please give me a like and share, and leave a comment below, especially if you figured out what Daniel was doing in that last picture. If you were with me on this trip and you didn't see yourself in this video, be sure to watch for the next episode, because I've got many more pictures and videos to come. Remember, be safe, God bless, and we'll see you next time on Brent Height Outdoors.